Hey, everybody out there in this wonderful virtual world of ours. Welcome to the Decibels Music Film Festival. Thank you for joining us. You just seen the wonderful film Get Out Alive. And we're lucky enough to have both director Roger Ellis here. Thank you, Roger. And the star of the show, Nikki Lynette. Thanks again for being here, Nikki.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
So maybe a good place to start is, you know, often when you kind of think about films, sometimes often they think about, you just think about the director or this kind of auteur sort of thing. How this seems a very kind of collaborative sort of film. How did you all kind of connect, and what was that kind of creative process like for crafting the film, that wonderful, beautiful film that you've created here?
Well, thank you so much for having us, and we're really excited to be here. Um, I guess I'll speak for both of us to say that we're really excited to be here. But the way that this started, in 2019, this piece was brought to me by David Bell and Ira Antelis, who had been working with Nikki Lynette on turning her one-person show into a live musical. And so initially, Nikki did this as an opening act for Pussy Riot, and it was just her and her computer and her projections. And then she decided that she wanted to turn it into a musical. So that's how I became introduced to the project. So we created a live stage version that ran at Steppenwolf Theater Company in Chicago. And at the onset of the COVID-19 lockdown, we were slated to do this in another live production, but that was shut down. So we decided to make a film because we could film outside, we could film by socially distancing, and we wanted to work together. And so we did. And it definitely has been a collaboration. Nikki has done a lot of the editing, the art direction, and I'm really proud of the team that we've assembled to put together this film.
And how, Nikki, how was this process different, I think, than a stage show or a live stage show?
So the thing about working on Get Out Alive is that so much of the world of what it was existed before we did the film. So in a lot of ways, we were very lucky, right? Because we knew what was great about the film. Like, we had already done it as a workshop presentation, and then we had done it, in the Steppenwolf Lookout series, and we sold out like for the workshop and for the Lookout series. So we knew what people responded to, what was unique about it, what aspects of it that were raw people really enjoyed. And so really the process for making this film was very much about capturing what's unique to theater, but in a way that works within the format of film. So that was the creative objective. And we had that. Like, we didn't have to necessarily do that much exploration because we knew what the soul of it was. And everything else was just kind of being playful and having fun.
And I mean, in some ways, obviously the world's been a bit upside down for the last 2 years, if not more. And it's just like, but it seems like this was kind of an interesting creative challenge, I guess, in some ways a positive thing to come out of the pandemic, because be able to kind of reinterpret the kind of story and the cool visual ways that you did it. So like, Roger, what was the way that you decided to kind of capture this kind of cinematically, in the sense of like how much of it was adaptation and how much of it was kind of rejiggering things based on, how you wanted to tell it in film?
So much of it was based on the locations. So we found a location that we could use for the time that we had. We had a very short time to do the principal photography. And so a lot of it was saying, well, usually in the stage show, we do this, but now we have a boat. Let's get on it. Or, oh, there's a fire truck. And it has an LED screen. And there already are existing projections that we're working with in the stage production. So it was a mix of kind of working with the opportunities that were there and what was presented, And the other aspects of it were filmed in Nikki's apartment. Other aspects were done kind of documentary style. In terms of our principal photography, it was mainly kind of a guerrilla photography kind of approach. And we shot in 4K, and we had 3 camera operators. And so for us, it was trying to capture the liveness and the vibrancy of the live production by having multiple camera operators filming one take. And that was what made it into the film.
Oh yeah, we didn't like, so you know how like when you do a film, you'll record little sections at a time. We ain't had time for all that. Like we were shooting in a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And it's indie. So like there were, you know, like we definitely recorded it. We broke it down into scenes as best we could. But keep in mind, this is a 90-minute play that has no intermission. So in order to get it as close to the actual play as possible, I had to record it in long chunks. So it's not like what you see was me where after having a ton of rehearsals or a ton of like different versions of it. Like, no, it was very raw, and it was not easy, but you know, I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah, it turned out really well. I mean, it seems like it's kind of a seize the moment, sort of film in some ways. Nikki, how did performing for the camera versus on stage, did you have to kind of adjust the way that you projected or the way that you was there, like, do you feel like your performance evolved to kind of suit the kind of filmic language, or did you just kind of do what you did live and then Roger figured out a creative way to capture that?
So like I am an indie artist. Like I was a rapper and singer before I was a playwright, and I was a playwright before I was a filmmaker. So like I've been doing music videos my whole life. So I've been performing toward the camera my whole life. All I really did was just treat the camera like they are the audience that we have at the play. And it's just, you know, the camera was a person. And if you treat it that way, then it kind of lands. So that part wasn't so hard.
And Roger, as you got into the editing room, like how did you find the rhythm of the piece in the sense of it? Like, was the rhythm as it was kind of shot, or are there things that were in the stage play that didn't make it to the final film, or things that you decided you needed to add to kind of make it work? Yeah, what was the kind of editing process like?
The script is very similar to the stage version, and Nikki and I were in the editing process together, and I focused a lot on the dialogue sections of trying to get a sense of the spine of the piece, which is all the dialogue that connects the individual songs. But I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part of your question?
Yeah, what was the editorial process like? Did you feel like, once you started editing, did you have to kind of change things to kind of make the rhythm work for itself as a film, or?
Well, there are already projections and filmic elements in the stage production. And for example, Want Me Like This, all of the things that you see in that particular section, it's pretty much the same as we do it live. But there are other things like Kill You and Cry in Your Grave and other moments in the show that we had to completely reimagine. So there definitely is a sense of keeping the pacing, like the play, keeping audiences leaning forward and not sitting back at any moment, and trying to capture these really exciting, slick visuals in conversation with some of the more documentary style photography. Nikki,
I'm not gonna lie to you, the editing process was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my goddamn life. Like it was one of the most challenging, because I physically, like Roger and I collaborated on the vast majority of like I had Roger went through all the footage of every scene of everything and was very detailed about which stuff was the best, because I'm not no director, you know what I'm saying? Like Roger, I gave me the ideas for like what was the best stuff. And then there was like, so that was like the performance, the acting performance. And then we had these music videos And we had Matt Biondo in California who was editing them. We had Jordan Freeze here he edited some stuff and then co-edited with me on stuff. And then there was stuff I edited by myself. And I did the principal editing for most of the film, actually assembling it and marrying it all together was because I taught myself Premiere to edit this film. And it was one of the hardest things I have ever done in my entire, it was harder than learning how to be a playwright or to act on a stage. It was harder than all of that because you really do have to have a pace and a style as an editor. And if you don't have one, everything will be disjointed. So that means, and this is a project that has multiple music videos in it. So even the pacing and the style of the music videos has to match the pacing and the style of the text. And I did not know all of that going in. I thought we were going to knock out the editing in like a couple weeks. Like I had no idea that it would take multiple months. And it was one of the hardest processes I've ever done. And it was very much collaborative in terms of decision making. And I could not have done that by myself. There were just moments where I was like, Roger, please decide, because I cannot. Like, and it was, I have never been so grateful for collaboration in all my days. It was so much work, but and I will never do it again. Like moving forward on projects like this, anything this massive, because like I'm working on another project right now. I'm like, we need to budget for an editor, honey, because I have the ability to do it, but I think I'm better on the creative side of just consulting and giving notes on exactly what I want. I'm glad that I know how to do it, so that I can, be able to identify a really great editor and know that I never want to do it again.
Awesome. And as we kind of wrap things up here, I guess maybe a good place to kind of visit is where do you see kind of things going, as things start to kind of open up with the pandemic and stuff? What are your kind of, where do you want the film to go? And also how is the kind of, now that you have it captured as a film, what's the kind of life of the stage show do you expect?
I'm going to let Roger answer that one.
So we have a stage version that is going to be produced at the Haven Theater in July 2022. And the Haven Theater is a tech-forward, media-centered storefront theater here in Chicago, and they're producing Get Out Alive. And so what we're hoping to do is to integrate elements of the film with the live version, but if you have seen the film and you've seen the live version beforehand, what you're going to see is going to be a completely different show. It will use projections. It will have immersive elements that are site-specific as well. And it'll be a really exciting evening in the theater with Nikki.
Cool. Well, congratulations on that. Thank you again for putting together this really wonderful film, Get Out Alive, and sharing this conversation with us. And have a good week.
Thank you
for having
too.
us.
Thank you so much.